The Friends star Matthew Perry, who played Chandler, has died at the age of 54. He was found dead at his home in Los Angeles.
Now let's turn to another big story that you'll be waking up to this morning. Tributes are being paid to the Friends actor Matthew Perry, who's died at the age of 54.
The star, who of course played Chandler Bing in the globally successful sitcom, which was one of the biggest shows of the 90s and the noughties, was found dead in his Los Angeles home, with US media reports saying he was found in the hot tub. Our reporter Louisa Pilbeam reports.
As Chandler in 90s sitcom Friends, Matthew Perry was catapulted to worldwide fame along with his co-stars. It became one of the most watched TV shows of all time, running for 10 seasons. And Chandler Bing was known for his sarcastic humour.
All right, so I'm back in high school. I'm standing in the middle of the cafeteria, and I realize I am totally naked.
Oh, yeah.
I've had that dream.
Then I look down, and I realize there is a phone there.
But in the early hours of today, US media reported that the actor was found dead in his hot tub. The Los Angeles Police Department confirmed to the BBC that a man in his 50s was unresponsive in a water emergency at the actor's home. Warner Brothers TV, which produced Friends, said they are devastated by the actor's passing, saying he was a true gift to us all and that their heart goes out to his family, loved ones and all of his fans.
I just came up to say hi. Hi.
His co-star Maggie Wheeler, who played Chandler's girlfriend Janice in Friends, said Perry brought joy to so many in his too short lifetime.
I can't stand the woman.
Despite his success, Perry was, by his own admission, a tormented man, writing in his autobiography about battling drink and drug addictions throughout his decade filming Friends. When Perry reunited with his co-stars for Friends The Reunion 2 years ago, he spoke about his troubles.
I felt like I was going to die if they didn't laugh. And it's not healthy, for sure. But I would sometimes say a line and they wouldn't laugh, and I would sweat and just like go into convulsions. If I didn't get the laugh I was supposed to get, I would freak out.
It would take you down.
Yeah.
You didn't tell us that. Would
it
No?
hurt?
No, I don't remember you ever saying that.
Oh, yeah. I felt like that every single night.
We got some time. Okay, should we get some coffee?
Sure.
Perry went on to star in a string of successful Hollywood films, but it is Friends that brought him international fame, and Chandler Bing, who made so many people laugh around the world.
Louisa Pilbeam looking back at the career and life of Matthew Perry. But our correspondent David Willis joins us now from Washington. David, what more do we know about the circumstances of Matthew's death?
Well, Matthew Perry's death, Ben, had been reported by a multitude of US media outlets before Warner Brothers, the company which, of course, made Friends, issued a statement saying that it was devastated to learn of Matthew Perry's passing and describing him as a true gift to us all. Now, reports here suggest that police responded to a 911 call that they received at 4 in the afternoon local time, and they found Matthew Perry dead in a hot tub at his home in the Pacific Palisades area of Los Angeles. Now, they are at pains to point out there are no signs of foul play. They haven't, however, revealed the cause of Matthew Perry's death, but, as you can imagine, an investigation is underway.
Indeed, although Matthew Perry did struggle with addiction for many years, and it's something he was very open about, his difficulties with that, wasn't he?
He was indeed, Ben. He fought a long battle with prescription drugs and with alcohol. He became addicted to Vicodin, the painkiller, after an accident involving a jet ski. And at one point, he said in his book, he was taking up to 55 Vicodin tablets a day, with the corresponding impact on his health. He suffered a burst colon about 4 years ago, which nearly killed him and was blamed on opioid abuse. So Friends, of course, made the cast, Matthew Perry among them, incredibly famous. It also made them incredibly wealthy, from a starting salary of, what, about $20,000 an episode. By the end, they were each receiving about $1 million an episode, but fame was ultimately to prove Matthew Perry's undoing. He said that he enjoyed being famous for about 8 months, and thereafter it became something of a curse, Ben.
OK, David, thank you very much. David Willis there for us in Washington.
Well, as you can imagine, tributes are being paid all across social media, many of them from actors who starred alongside Matthew Perry in Friends. Maggie Wheeler, who played Chandler's on-off girlfriend Janice, wrote on Instagram, "What a loss. The world will miss you, Matthew Perry. The joy you brought to so many in your too short lifetime will live on. I feel so very blessed by every creative moment we shared."
Another tribute from Selma Blair, who played Wendy, one of Chandler's co-workers with whom he nearly cheated on his wife, Monica. She wrote, "My oldest boyfriend. All of us loved Matthew Perry, and I did especially. Every day. I loved him unconditionally," she writes, "and he me. I'm broken-hearted. Sweet dreams, Matty."
And Morgan Fairchild, who played Chandler's mum, said, "I'm heartbroken about the untimely death of my son," Matthew Perry, as in he played her son on Friends. "The loss of such a brilliant young actor is a shock. I'm sending love and condolences to his friends and family."
And a tribute from the Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, who went to primary school with Matthew Perry. He described the actor's death as shocking and saddening. He says, "I'll never forget the schoolyard games we used to play, and I know people around the world are never going to forget the joy he brought them. Thanks for all the laughs, Matthew. You were loved, and you will be missed."
Well, let's speak now to the entertainment journalist Caroline Faraday, who's in Los Angeles for us. Caroline, for over a decade that Friends was on TV, and then obviously with all the repeats as well that went on after that, for many people, Matthew Perry's face was a regular part of who they saw on screen.
Absolutely. I mean, if you think back to the 90s, Friends was the sitcom of the 90s. And that final episode of Friends had a viewing audience of over 54 million people in America. Just that episode. If you think what a worldwide hit it was and how it is never off our TVs ever since, they have all of the stars really have become quite kind of timeless, because we still think of them as the age they were when they were in Friends, because it's on TV so often.
Yes, and it was, of course, hugely successful all around the world as a series. We've heard some of the social media posts from some of the co-stars, not the main five who starred with him, but what reaction has there been from fans, not just in the US, but around the world?
Well, Matthew Perry was an A-lister who was very well liked. Nobody seems to have a bad word to have said about him when they have encountered him, when they've worked with him, when they've had to interview him. He said in a previous interview that he wanted his legacy to be, if somebody bumped into him, that they would just say, "He's a nice guy." And that does seem to be what his legacy is, that people are saying, he's a nice guy. Yes, he had his demons. He spoke openly about his demons, and he wrote in his autobiography. It was almost like therapy, I think, for him when he released his autobiography a year ago, where he talked in depth about his demons. He talked a lot about the pain that he'd gone through. He talked a lot about the millions that he's spent on going to rehab and trying to get through that. And I think what is clear from all of the tributes to him is not only the shock that he has died so young, but how much he was loved.
And Caroline, you mentioned the nice guy impression that he hoped that he would give, and it's fair to say, isn't it, that actually that came across through his character on screen as well, because Chandler was a nice guy, admittedly with a bit of awkwardness and sarcasm, but his character was very much part of the chemistry and rapport among the cast that made the show such a success.
Oh yeah, he was the comic genius, really. He had the comic artistry, and that was something that he took very seriously. He actually said when he first got the script for Friends, which was originally called Friends Like Us, he read it and he thought that the writers had been following him around for a year because the character of Chandler was so close to how he is in real life. And so I think that there was so much of Matthew Perry in Chandler that it was, you know, hard to kind of divide the two. He wasn't really playing Chandler. He was Chandler Bing. And he really made that role his own. And you just cannot imagine anybody else ever having sort of inhabited it the way that he did.
And he did find a little bit more success as well on the big screen as well. Obviously, a lot of the cast went on to do movies, went on to do films after the series ended. And it was the same with Matthew Perry.
Yeah, I mean, he won an Emmy for Friends, but he went on to actually do some serious dramatic acting. He was in The West Wing, and that's where he picked up a lot of awards and plaudits, and he did do serious acting, but it really was for his comedic artistry, for his role as Chandler in Friends, that he is best known and best loved.
Well, Caroline, thank you. I'd forgotten about his turn on The West Wing as well. It was great to hear your thoughts there on Matthew Perry, who has died. Thank you. Caroline Faraday, our entertainment correspondent there, looking at some more tributes and looking back at his career.
You know, there's an interesting line from his memoirs where he explained how he ended up getting that last line in the series finale, the last ever episode of Friends. He took the creator, Marty Kaufman, to one side and said, "This will matter to me more than it will matter to anyone else." And as a result, he's the one who delivers the very final line.
But where?
Pardon?
Isn't that what he says? He says, "But where shall we go?"
When they say, "Let's go for coffee," and he says, "Sure." Where?
Where?
The joke being, obviously, they only go to the same place ever.